I'm running out of ways to make this intro unique, so basically I've been going over all items in Smash Ultimate, talking about things ranging from basic functions, cool trivia, or anything else I can think of that might be interesting. Today's video starts with the special flag, and ends off this fun little series with the Beastball. I'll have a lot of additional things to chat about with some minor announcements at the very end of the video, so stick around to hear that, but otherwise let's just get right into it. The special flag, also just called the S flag, will put you in this animation for about 3 seconds before completion. If this timer is interrupted at all before the end, then it gets reset. Plus, getting flinched will basically guarantee that you drop it no matter what, making it really easy to stop and steal. It doesn't deal any damage when thrown, though you might still want to get rid of it by tossing it off stage anyways. Honestly, this is probably what most people do. So yeah, in any match with stocks, finishing the S flag animation will grant you 1 additional life, plain and simple. However, in a timed match with no stocks, the flag will grant you 1 point, meaning you can win the match while being a pacifist. Though the victory screen will refer to your points as KOs, with the flag symbol appearing instead of any stock icons. Fun bit of niche trivia. When playing in stamina mode, the S flag works as normal, giving you an extra life. It also still works just fine in Custom Smash, doing what you'd expect, all is good, but mix the two together with a stamina mode match in Custom Smash, and now the S flags just don't spawn in at all. No idea why this combination of modes specifically removes its spawnability. If it can function fine with both in isolation, I'd imagine it should be fine together, so it might be an oversight, but it's hard to say. The Super Launch Star is kind of like the younger brother to the bumper, or whatever other familial comparison you'd want to make, as it's arguably way better. You don't have a hitbox when you get launched, and the Launch Star itself doesn't have one when thrown, plus the item doesn't deal any damage in general. When thrown, it'll face the opposite direction you faced when throwing it, so if I throw it to the right, it'll face left, and if I throw it up, it'll face down and all that. There's a light buffer period between when the Launch Star can activate again, but with the right percent and distance, you can have someone get caught between two of them with nothing they can do to get out. And yes, percent does change how far this launches you. Its ceiling for growth seems a bit low, capping out at around 50% or so, but there is some variance until then. And that brings me to how you're most likely going to see this item get used. Just have it face the blast zone. Aim it downwards to essentially spike opponents, or off to the side to either force a scary recovery, if they even can, or just straight up KO them. And perhaps the most broken thing is having it point upwards. On most stages, this positioning is dangerous. It'll KO basically anyone starting at around 30%. This is insanely low despite how incredibly easy it is to set up. Just throw the Launch Star downwards onto the stage and you're good to go. Granted, the knockback does actually scale with character weight, but even the super heavy guys will be sent to the mesosphere before the knockback scaling even reaches its ceiling. Also totally random, but I found out that for some reason, Bowser took more knockback when landing in the Launch Star with his down special compared to normal. I don't know why that is, but I guess look out for that. Anyways, the Launch Star might frankly be a contender for one of the deadliest items in the game when used right, with its only balancing factors being that it doesn't stay out super long, and that the person who threw it can also be knocked into it. That would normally be enough for this section, but there's actually a certain tech that you can do with this that's perhaps less deadly than the standard strategy, but still pretty cool. Whenever you throw it onto the stage like we saw earlier, it'll bounce off and get some height. So when you're launched horizontally, you're still well above the stage. Plus, when launched, there's a short period where you can't act at all up until around here. However, if you throw it off stage to where it's low enough, you'll actually hit the floor as you get launched. And what hitting the floor does is actually cancel the hit stun while maintaining your momentum. This means you can basically do a drive-by attack if you position things correctly, which has the potential to be super flashy. Just take this quick little item combo as an example. Pretty saucy, ain't it? The Superspicy Curry has you shoot out flames from your mouth, with its angle alternating up and down, and its range varying per flame shot, making its reach a bit inconsistent. Its damage output can be really good if there's a gas leak wherever your opponent is, but the moment they wake up and start moving, it's actually really easy to escape from. So its only real saving grace is the fact that you can act while the fire is shooting out. So it could open up a few combos or just be a minor deterrent while you sit and shield, or in, other scenarios. Despite being food, it's not considered food by the game, and does not heal anything when eaten, either normally or when swallowed by Kirby or DDD, or even eaten by Wario. And its most notable feature outside of the flames is how it gives the user this unique panicked expression, plus a unique idle animation. This expression overrides a lot of other animations, which makes certain things look jarring. Like, really jarring. What on earth is he sucking with? As another example we've seen before on this channel, the unique facial expression will actually overlay with Luigi's side special charge, looking something like this, which is so stupid. The fire bar is the evil twin sibling to the classic salad bar, and is a battering item that's isolated all the way at the bottom of this list for some reason. Anyways, it starts out with 5 fireballs in a row. Every 2 hits you land with the item, the fireball count goes down by 1, until there's only 1 left, in which case it just stays like that. And yes, every 2 hits, so if you whiff it, it won't remove any fireballs, and it doesn't matter if it's 2 jabs or 2 forward smashes, though using it as a throwing item doesn't seem to affect the fireball count any. The decreasing fireball count doesn't actually decrease its damage output, and if anything, you'll notice that it gets stronger the farther down I go. That's not to say that it gets stronger the smaller it is, but rather that the hitboxes closer to the hilt are just always stronger. So less Marth pilled and more Roy maxing. Also, the hilt of the firebar doesn't actually have a hitbox. Given how collision works in this game, it's fairly unlikely that this will matter, but it might come into effect if you are really trying to get the innermost hitbox. Okay, no, I'll be real, I don't got much for this one. What do you want me to say? It's a banana. It makes you slip. I guess it's kind of funny how when Wario chomps it, it does heal percent like other items, meaning the banana peel has more nutrients than the Superspicy Curry. Also, you ever think about how it's kind of weird that the banana peel doesn't actually slip anyone when it spawns, only after it's manually placed, despite looking the same in either case, unless placed while facing the other direction. Oh, actually, here's a good one. Banana peels have something called transcendent priority. What this means is that, in cases where other items or moves would have clashed with the attack, the banana peel will simply ignore it outright. It's kind of funny to imagine the banana peel as transcendent in any sense. Okay, fine, I'll stop reaching for content and move on to... Oh great, another banger. The smoke ball is kind of this game's equivalent to the blooper, so I automatically don't love it, though I guess you could technically use it on yourself to hide whatever attack you're charging up or something. Surely there's some sauce in there somewhere. Anyways, this item apparently has a 60% chance to stick to the opponent when thrown, and a 40% chance to just bounce off them, and it can be stacked with other smoke balls to create something truly abhorrent. Plus, when activated, it seems to last approximately 18 seconds or so, but otherwise, yeah, I don't really know of any tech with this one, so let's just move on. The Unira spawns as a harmless ball, but when thrown will cling to the surface and become very spiky, where it stays as an obstacle for its whole 17 or so second duration. It can stick to walls or even ceilings, and it also has a small vacuum effect whenever someone gets close by. By the way, if instead of just throwing it normally, you attack it, it'll activate like this too, but now also hurt you, basically becoming a rogue evil sea urchin. In terms of power, it's not necessarily the most lethal, though it certainly can net some KOs. Rather, it's a lot better at just maintaining space by cutting off an area of the ground, or especially for leading into some combos. Given how large its hitbox is, you can even place it on the ledge, and have it basically guarantee a 2-frame hit. And actually, this item was buffed going into this game, as once it gets placed, it's stuck there. Even if the opponent attacks it a little, or a lot, it won't budge an inch. Or for my non-American viewers, 2.54 centimeters. Same for if the user hits it. It's not going to retract its spikes or anything like it did in past games. Nowadays, given how rough and tough it is, it's actually developed a new use, the Unira shield. If it can tank as many hits as it wants, then let it. You can hide behind, or even in it, to avoid attacks. And if you pair it with your normal shield, you can tank a hit while they get counter hit for free. Is it lame? A little, but it's also kind of funny. And it's not perfect, some projectiles can just go over it, and disjoints will hit you even while you're inside. It'll still be a trade, but you'll need to incorporate your own defenses amidst the Unira to be optimal. Still an interesting option. And another interesting option is using this to extend your attack's duration with hit stun. Because this blue creature can tank even nuclear warfare, and trust me, it's gonna need it. You can use it to extend how long your attacks stay out for due to the extreme hitstun it offers. Not an exclusive tech to this item, but it works pretty well here. Also, if you're curious, the Unira comes from Cucco land, with their name being Japanese coming from the word for sea urchin, which is uni. When I was younger and I first saw this name in Brawl, I just sorta ended up going with Unira, and I'm only now trying to shift that, you know, going from Unira to Unira. And I don't know, I feel like I should say Unira, right? But that doesn't really roll off the tongue in English as well, so let me know how you pronounce this thing's name. Also, I just want to point out how funny it is looking at the language list for this name. Everything has Unira here except for Italian. I don't know a lick of that language, but I'm just going to assume that they're trying to make sure they don't fit in, and then we can move on. The Cucco will remain docile on the stage even when thrown or dropped, and it's only when they hit somebody that they start their onslaught. In general, the hits are weak, and frankly the flock is so slow and predictable that you can actually dodge in circles around them and not get hit at all. Of course, this is balanced out by the fact that the opponent is most likely conscious and can still hit you during this, but ultimately this is an item that's more annoying in a full chaotic context than on its own. It'd be even stronger if its aerial hits launched upwards, but right now when it hits you in the air, you get spiked, which makes it less lethal than you'd think. Just be careful offstage, it can kinda get out of control there. By the way, the Cucco also activates when it takes enough damage, and in these cases it can hurt anyone, though it'll still target whoever it was that set it off. And its damage taken seems to persist, so you can deal most of the abuse, and if someone else taps it, then they're getting all the heat. If we want specific numbers, I believe it's a total tolerance threshold of around 13% or so. For example, with no 1v1 multiplier, a smash input boomerang right after being thrown deals 13.2%, whereas a sour spot short hop down air deals 12.7%. The boomerang sets the Cucco off, but the down air doesn't. But it was kind of inconsistent. Sometimes the boomerang didn't set it off for whatever reason, so it's hard to say anything for sure, but I do think this is close to the threshold at least. Also, a bit of quick trivia, the design of the Cucco is clearly based on its appearance in Twilight Princess, the only game where it has red around its eyes in this specific shape. This is really funny given that Twilight Princess is also one of the few games where the Cucco doesn't actually attack you in swarms if you hurt it enough. Instead, I guess doing this just gives you control of it for a bit. I still don't really get why, but maybe this link is just built different. The Beehive works pretty similar to the Cucco, targeting the player who was hit with it, and targeting the aggressor if it gets attacked. Though unlike the Cucco, if you simply drop it, then it'll just target the nearest opponent. This one's a bit less lethal, and if you know what you're doing, it can actually be helpful to the victim. See, the bees don't actually deal any knockback, just hit, stun, and damage, meaning you could even use the item to cancel your recovery and start it again, for whatever purposes you might have. By the way, the bees have two hitboxes, one that starts off the swarm and has very little hit stun, and the other which stuns for a bit longer. The weaker hit can be shielded while the other hit cannot. And for some reason, I guess if you have intangibility or anything while swarmed, once you're out of that, the bees will hit you with the weaker hit instead of the stronger one. And you can spam this over and over and over again. I don't know why, but in doing this, the sound of the bees gets even louder too. Anyways, for the user, you could use the stronger hit with your own attacks to sort of stun lock the opponent by properly spacing hits with the bees, if that's your thing. Otherwise though, they're more of just an annoyance. Bit of quick trivia part 2. Even though this item comes from Animal Crossing, the bees that swarm actually look like this instead, all cutesy and 2D, while the Animal Crossing designs are more realistic. Though I prefer the cartoonier ones, I don't really like wasps. The Killer Eye is yet another item that actually comes from Kid Icarus Uprising. It's kind of like a turret, shooting when opponents get in range. Well, that's the concept at least. In reality, it always periodically shoots a blast. It just does it more frequently when an opponent is in range, going from 5 shots during its lifespan to 8 shots when looking at someone. This makes it pretty easy to test its range. The projectile normally travels around 25 training mode units, and with Link outside of this range, the shot count is at 5, meaning he's not being detected. Even standing right on the edge of the shot range, he's still not triggering anything, meaning it likely stops detecting players a little bit before the projectile goes away. And this detection field seems to be a straight line, as putting Link just a bit above its sightline does not increase the shot count. Also, be careful with how you use this, as some characters would just love to have free, easy projectiles shot at them. Anyways, if you attack the Killer Eye, it'll actually turn around, but it needs to take a minimum amount of damage before it can do this, as otherwise it won't budge. I believe this minimum is around 5%, but it's just kinda weird. Sometimes it'll turn around and other times not. I even thought there was a buffer period before you could turn it around again, but then other times it turned around consecutively, so I'm even tempted to say it's down to random chance whether the Killer Eye will be turned around or knocked back from a hit, being loosely influenced by how strong the attack was. And yes, I did say knocked back, as with strong enough hits, it can be sent flying. And with these really powerful hits, it felt way more consistent that it would get launched. But even then, there were times where it didn't budge, so yeah, it's funky. If you keep it weak enough, it can land on the stage either facing the sky, where it'll shoot upwards, or it'll face the ground, where its next shot will actually correct itself. Or, you know, just put it on its back instead, that works too. This is the most you'll be able to reposition it, and you can try to help it out a bit more, but these awkward angles could still be useful. Even more useful is sticking them to a wall or ceiling to get even more weird coverage. Perhaps it's still a bit of a weaker item compared to others, but there's a lot more going on here than you might think. Also, while testing, I got this weird visual bug to happen, where the shot glitches out like this. I have to imagine it's from the killer eye despawning the moment it shoots, caused from continuous hit stun and turning around and whatnot, so that's kinda goofy. And now, let's move on to our final item. The Beastball is a projectile that will disappear after traveling around this far, then teleport to the opponent in the same direction it was going, though it actually has a 25% chance to appear from the opposite direction instead. If it's thrown vertically, it'll always target the opponent by going downwards if there's not enough room below them. If they're in the air though, then the logic from before applies. Or if there's any space below, I guess. The ball's disappearance will also trigger if it hits an opponent, making the process quicker and also being its own little combo. So you can imagine how good it is when you can recatch it to extend things even more. Like, the combo potential with this item is actually ludicrous. And you can also imagine how much the RNG of which side it appears ends up ruining things. But that's just how it goes. If the ball ends up missing the opponent, it'll travel pretty far afterwards, and you can catch it if it's targeting you. And for some other niche things, its target range seems to be limitless, so as long as you throw it, it'll teleport to the opponent. And when there's multiple opponents on screen, it appears to choose a target by random rather than specifically going after, say, the closest character. And lastly, if you're wondering about the item's origins, in Japanese it's called makyu, which is baseball jargon for exceptional pitching throws or techniques, and in other languages gets translated as magic ball, I guess. Though nowadays, you can see it get used for really crazy techniques used in shows or manga, which was apparently popularized in the manga Star of the Giants, where a pitch disappears and then reappears in the catcher's glove. Or, if you're built like me, then this is just what a normal baseball does. So it's a pretty cool item. Again, it's honestly one of my favorites due to just how saucy the combo potential is. And with that item, we have now finished the entire series, covering all, I think 87 items in the game, in varying amounts of detail. There's a few things I'm doing to celebrate this. The most important one to you is this form. I have all the items that you can individually turn on or off listed right here, and what I want you to do is rank them on how much you like them or use them, for whatever reason you might have. 1 star is for items you basically never have on and don't really want to see. 2 stars are for items you rarely have on and don't despise, but you still don't really like to see that often. 3 stars are for items that you don't mind and occasionally have on, but are still more situational. 4 stars are for your more liked items, that you'd want to see in a match frequently. And 5 stars are reserved for items you really love and would like to see in basically every item field match that you're in. Obviously, you probably shouldn't participate in this if you never use items, period, but otherwise I was curious to see what everyone's thoughts were on the whole set of them, and I would love to make a little video talking about the results of this at some point. So please fill it out whenever you can, and share with any friends who you think might be interested. My other plan is to make a supercut of all these videos like I've brought up a lot of times now. I am really unoriginal. It'll actually involve quite a bit of additional editing and new content in quite a few areas, so it's not going to be a simple copy-paste of these 8 videos. It'll likely end up being a definitive version of this mini-series, and I think it's nice to have just one spot for this type of thing, either for people who want to rewatch the videos, or for any newcomers who want to see my, I guess, modern magnum opus. And my last plan is in regards to what I should move on to. I want to do a Mario Kart World video at least once soon, and I think I really ought to do at least one basic Smash Ultimate Random Facts video, since it's been a while and I do like those a lot. Plus I've got a lot of fun miscellaneous stuff sitting around. But after that, I was thinking about going through either all of the assist trophies or all of the Pokemon. So I guess for another question, let me know in the comments which one you'd like to see first, assist trophies or Pokemon. It'll probably end up being a few episodes per category, which will let me gauge how much demand there is for that idea, where if it's popular enough I will cover both, but just let me know which one you want to see the most. But with all those plans out of the way, I just want to thank you all for watching this video and or the whole series. It really means a lot. And an even bigger thank you to my patrons Burbo, Raighne, Still700, and everyone else for their massive support. Stay casual, and I'll see y'all later.